We have two Carries.
I have no idea. Maybe one's on her phone.
Carrie, we got.
Yes, you have two of me because for some reason my computer audio is not working. So I'm using my phone audio for audio, my computer for visual.
Does she get to vote twice?
No.
Only this one, only the hand that moves.
Nice one.
Perfect. Okay. Then like to welcome everybody to the work session today for the October the 14th, 2025 City Council work session and meeting. So we will start with number 1 with Chris reviewing the city's current debt.
Excellent. I'm wondering, we do have a guest on here. Is he scheduled for the first part of the meeting or?
He is next.
He's
So
next.
you're going to start and then we'll go to Mark right after that.
Okay, mine's going to be a little bit longer because I'd like to combine the financials, basically everything that's on the agenda for mine into one discussion, if that's possible. It might go a little bit longer, but I'm sure Mark would love to hear what I've got to say if you want to keep it that way.
Mark, what would your preference be?
Either's fine. I'm in no rush.
Okay, then let's start with you, Chris, because that I think will tee up Mark the best.
Perfectly. All right. So you did receive July and August financials, which we'll talk about here momentarily. Also been receiving some email questions from candidates who are running for city council. And then there's been a few things said out there publicly and in writing that need to be clarified publicly, just so everybody understands kind of where we are coming from. I'm going to go over a few of the questions. Do I call you Mayor Pro Tem? What do I call you, Ben?
Mayor Pro Tem, yeah.
Pro Tem.
Or just Councilmember Hilliard works too.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
So I'll go over a few of the questions that were brought up, and I'm going to go ahead and put the August financials up on the screen if that's okay. Yes, they are there. You guys all received a copy of these August and June financial or July financials. I'm going to be mainly dealing with the revised column in column 4. That's the revised budget that you guys voted on in August. First and foremost, for anybody listening to this, our budget is a living, breathing document. It fluctuates, it moves, funds get moved around. The mayor has a lot of broad discretion in how he can move money around without council approval. So do department heads, specifically Ted, because Ted is over multiple departments. He has the ability within his departments to move money around if he chooses to. The beautiful thing in our city is I've rarely seen that done. They always bring it to council unless it's a small thing. We're moving some from engineering to legal or legal to engineering, something like that on a small basis. But the mayors in the past have always brought this to city council just so you guys are well aware of what's going on. One of the questions was,
You make it a little bit, can you zoom in a little bit? Thank you.
a little better, sorry about that. One of the questions is, our revenues come from a lot of different places. And are there specific revenues that are earmarked for specific expenses? And there are to a certain extent. So I'm going to go back to the page 1. Property tax. Property tax currently, we use that on a broad range of things. Payments for the vehicles, salaries, keeping the lights on, those kind of things. Unpaid prior year's property taxes. These are people who didn't pay their taxes in the previous 3.5 years. We do receive that and put that back into the general account to be able to use to run operations. Motor vehicle taxes. This is what you pay yearly, what we all pay yearly at the DMV. And we get a chunk of that revenue. And that is for, a lot of it goes to roads, snow plowing. Our snow plowing does cost quite a bit. Just with equipment and keeping those roads, and we get a lot of snow up there and a lot of damage happens to the roads also. Sales and use tax is kind of a not earmarked for anything specifically. We do have some of these tied to some of our loans that for some reason, if we defaulted on their loans, the bank could go and attach to these revenue sources, but we've never had to do that in many since we've ever received loans. The franchise tax for electric and gas that's on your gas bill from SESD and then also from Enbridge. And there's a little percent, I believe it's 6% that comes off, and that typically takes care of Once again, roads and maintenance of roads, that's what that tax is for. The same with the telecom tax for the landline specifically. So that's kind of where our revenues are. Nothing specifically here is tied to an expense, except when we get down here to Class C road allocations. These are the monies that we pay at the gas station, the taxes when we fill up our vehicles. Or if you have an electric vehicle, you have to pay each year when you register your car, or there's a pay-as-you-go kind of program. So the state is collecting revenues on electric vehicles for roads. The Class C road funds are all used in roads account, period, hands down, whether it's snowplow or repairing the roads. If you said, Chris, what specific line item is this $105,000 going for? I couldn't tell you that. I could just tell you one. You know, we've just spent $700,000 on repairing roads. I could say it went to that, but it just goes into the roads budget in general. So that's kind of the lump sum question when the various the question on revenues and, you know, is there anything specifically tied? There is basically with the Class C road funds. Now, when we jump into the water fund, which is basically a whole separate company the city owns. It's a for-profit company. The city of Woodland Hills has never, that I can think of, ever taken any revenues from water to backfill the general account. Some cities in the state of Utah by law can do that. They can take the revenue, if there's any extra revenue in their electricity fund, they can bring that over into the general fund with a public hearing and a majority vote by the city council. And that can be done. But we've never taken revenues from the water account and brought it over to the general account, frankly, because there's just not a whole lot of revenue there. The water account is pretty much breaking even or saving for the water breaks for the future. Any questions so far? Okay, another question was the total amount of funds budgeted for full-time city staff. I'm gonna take this just a little bit further and not just say full-time city staff, but I'm gonna say key employees of the city. So I'm thinking those are there on the day in, day out basis. Ted Mickelson, Chris Helvey, Jody Stones, Lori Thomas, and Toby. Basically those 5 people, let me just double check, make sure that's, yes, those 5 people. And I guess you can say Lance, you know, the firefighting that Lance has been doing this year for the city going out, he's become one of those employees that is key and also brings in revenue to the city, but also costs revenue also. So for those 6 employees, including benefits, the retirement, which we are part of the Utah retirement systems, which is mandated back when I believe Mayor Harding was in mayor, they brought the Utah retirement systems in to use as the retirement platform for city employees. Once you're part of it per state statute, you cannot get out of it. So for health insurance, pensions, FICA, and gross salaries, and estimated for those who are hourly, it's about $690,000 per year for all those employees. Now, we have on payroll, we have roughly 50 employees total, but a lot of those are part-timers. Some of those are firefighters, EMTs that just get a year-end bonus. Some people that have just small parts in the city, small but key parts of the city. So total salaries with benefits are estimated with everybody, let me just total this up real quick, is roughly $925,000. So it's quite a bit. But once again,
Clarify, that is benefits, retirement, right? Did you say?
correct.
Get health insurance, everything.
Yep. Now, several of those, like specifically the firefighters that go out and fight wildland fires, their salaries have increased the past couple of years by virtue of they're just fighting more fires. And so we do get paid for that. And the city does make some money off of that we are able to retain in the city general account. So it's not like everybody here is, the firefighters are definitely paying for themselves.
You by chance have those numbers, Chris, broken out? What's those 4 people's wages and what is the revenue that those 4 wages have generated?
See if I can add. I can do that, but I don't have that the documentation ready right now to be able to.
Ted said he might be able to pull it up here quickly for us.
I don't have, well, through September, so I did a number through September.
Okay.
So I had Lori go through and pull up all their salaries and expenses and costs, and then all the revenue we've made on fires. So you'll give me, Chris, keep talking. If you give me about 2 minutes to pull it up here on my phone so I can get the actual real number.
You're totally fine. I'm gonna go to another part that still deals with salaries. For those who are listening and they're interested in wanting to get into the nitty-gritty of the city's finances or any public entity within the state of Utah, whether it's salaries or where checks are going or anything like that, you can go to a website called transparent.utah.gov. So some of those who are listening or who will be listening later who send grandma requests and wanting some financial information and those grandma requests get denied, it's because the information is already on the state's website. Sometimes you have to dig for it. Sometimes it's just right there. But I just went to transparent.utah.gov. This is every single public entity in the state of Utah reporting here. You can go and you can look up employees by name. You can look up employees by city. You can look up who's the most expensive employee in the state of Utah. I'll give you one guess who that is. Anybody?
Kyle Winningham.
Oh, Whittingham. Go Utes. So you can look at those kind of things. Now you can go to the specific entity. You can go look at, let's just go to an entity. You can type in Woodland Hills City. Sorry, you can't type it in. You got to drag down and go to Woodland Hills City. And I apologize for those who know about this information, but I think this is good for others, especially at election time when questions are asked. You can go to Woodland Hills City and you can look up a multitude of information. I have to upload quarterly 100% of all our detail to this website. Now, what this website does with it, I don't know what they do with on the back end. I don't understand the full ins and outs of it. There is a portion on the bottom that says on their website, please note that the data contained on this website is raw, unaudited, and unconsolidated. The information's there, but there is a disclaimer. So you can go down, you can look at what we spent in fire, $485 in the specific fire, other fire suppression, insurances, administration, and you can get down to the nitty-gritty of what the checks are. So that is there on the state's website under transparent.utah.gov. Another question, and this one's a little bit, it can be answered, but we just didn't know what specifically is the question for infrastructure. So one of the questions was the total amount budgeted for infrastructure and maintenance. So if we go back to the financials and we look at our maintenance, I'm going to scroll down a couple pages because it's going to be mainly under our roads count. You look at these account numbers here, these start 42. These let me know that it deals with public safety. You go down to 44 and it lets us know it deals with roads and infrastructure. So what is categorized under this question of maintenance replacement? Our salaries, our FICA, our health insurance retirement, is engineering. If so, this year is going to be an anomaly. So we have $3.5 million budgeted this year because we had money in savings and we're anticipating, and that's why Mark is here, we're anticipating getting a note to finish some of the bigger road projects this year. So typically on a typical year, we're spending between $400,000 and $600,000 just on the roads portion. Now, other infrastructure we have parks, and this will fluctuate also. If Sherry and her group get a $25,000 grant for a pickleball court, this will go up by $25,000. But just to take care of the park and some of those kind of things, we budget about $15,500 a year for that, plus $10,000 for chipper days. If we go down, excuse me, I'm going to go quickly down here, skip through some of these budgets and go to the water account, the enterprise account. There's multiple lines that deal with maintenance, but you can see this year we're budgeting about $150,000 just for water system maintenance. Like we had a water line break the other day on Cougar Run Drive. Never, there's a water pipe breaking right now. Sorry to say, in the city, there's a water pipe breaking somewhere. We're going to have to fix it. So we budget this every year. You can see we had a large $810,000 this year. That was fixing a big chunk of that $810,000 was redoing the well at the top, which thank goodness got done. Okay, another question was dealing with debt. And this one, there's been some misinformation out there. So let's get the numbers. So it's on recording and it is, out there for everybody to see. Give me a second to pull the right one up. Got it. Okay, this is that the city of Woodland Hills has. I'm gonna have to make this just a wee bit smaller, or let me see if I can move you guys. There we go. Okay, so the top portion up here is true debt, you know, like you got a mortgage on your house, that kind of thing. Down below are leases that we turn the vehicles or the equipment in after the lease is up. So currently right now we have a 2014 water bond that was for the original drilling of the well and putting the well house up at the top of the city that never was completed. But nevertheless, the city received a $920,000 loan. We have about $480,000 left. The interest rate's just shy of 3%, and it matures. Last payment will be in October of 2034. The source of payment for this is the water revenues from the citizens, and our yearly payment is roughly $61,000 a year. We have a 2019 bond, and this is Zions Bank to help us get this one. This was actually refinancing a bond that we got in 2014 or 15. And this went to originally do Woodland Hills Drive, the city center, the park, and several other areas in the city that were in desperate need of repair. The original loan was $1.3 million roughly. Our interest rate's just shy of 2.5. We started it in August of 2019, and it matures, or the last payment's in February of 33. And the payment's roughly $107,000 a year. The council, there was some challenges with little roads just crumbling and falling apart. So in 2020, the council at that time went and got a small loan from Bank of Utah for $580,000 to do repairs on roads. And a chunk of this money did go to pave Loafer Drive down by the Anderson's house. And so 580,000, we owe about 316. The interest rate's 1.5%. Started in November 2020, and it's a 10-year loan. Will be done about May of 2020. And the source of payment is taxes, so property taxes and things. And that loan is $55,000 roughly a year. Let's jump to the water account again. We have a 2021 water revenue bond. This was the big one that Ted got with the state of Utah. This one was $2.8 million. This did a lot of the water line repairs that we did back several years ago. We should owe about $2.5 million. The beauty of this loan, it's a 0% interest loan. We started it in about October, our first payment of 22. It goes to 2051. Paid with water revenues, it's $99,000 a year set. The last loan we have is for the fire engine that we received a year and a half ago. The original amount was $432,000, 4.79% interest, about a 10-year loan, and it's paid through taxes about $60,000 a year. So that's the true debt of the city. The question was, how much do we have payment per year? It's about roughly $382,000 for the payment of those loans. Any questions on the loan portion? Okay.
Wasn't it quoted that we had like double that in debt? I feel like I heard a number that was,
I think I heard like $9 million is what I heard.
that's what I thought I heard too.
So we've got about, 6 million and about 4.5 million still owing right now.
So about half.
So we've got a few leases, and the leases have come more prevalent in the past couple of years as the bigger cities like Payson and Salem and Spanish Fork and some of these other cities move to a lease structure instead of using cash. Cash is king. So they use a lease structure, and they turn their vehicles around every 1 to 3 years, and they know that the vehicles are going to be up to date. They're under warranty. They don't have to worry about maintenance. They're safe and secure, more safe and secure. And like I said, maintenance is just much, much less. So we did last year go out and get a front end loader for snow plowing and for many things around the city. The original was $101,914. It's a 4-year, I think it's about a 5-year lease on that one. And the payments are $26,000 a year. That gets broken up between 3 accounts. One out of the water account because it gets used in the water, one out of snow plowing because it gets used out of snow plowing, and one out of roads because it gets used in roads. The roads and snow plowing come out of the general, so it's basically dipping out of the same pot of money. And the water is water revenues. We have a service truck. The last service truck we had was a 2006, and it was just falling apart and rusting and was pretty dangerous. So we got a new service truck that helps with water line breaks, maintenance on any equipment at the wells or anything like that. Also on the roads, signs, fire hydrants, those kind of things. That one also gets broken up into 3 accounts: the water, roads, and snowplowing because it does act as a snowplow truck in the wintertime. So those payments are $22,000, and that is a 5-year note. Excuse me, 3-year note, 4-year note. The snowplow trucks / dump trucks, those are also taken out of 3 different accounts because they're used in water, roads, and snowplowing. We have 2 trucks. Those are on 3-year leases, and those 2 trucks combined are just shy of $68,000 a year. And then we have a fire chief's truck, and that truck is on a 5-year, I believe, also, and it's $17,500 a year. So when we look at debt of the city and payments going out to the city, that I think answers that question right there.
And Chris, don't all those vehicles that have leases, they have maintenance too? Like we get maintenance and everything, which saves
Correct.
us a lot of money, right? Because we were spending, like that old service truck was always broken down when we had the big orange one. It was always broken down. Like we were spending a ton of money on repairs that now that's like reduced significantly, right? Am I wrong?
And we have the warranties on the vehicles.
And we also sold a lot of equipment, older equipment we had. It generated quite a bit of revenue and helped offset these lease costs for a few years.
And then they'll rotate, we rotate them also so that they don't get so old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's good to note that the leases are not gonna go away. Even when we finish those leases, we'll lease new equipment. Same with the fire truck. We have a 10-year, we can only use a fire truck for 10 years as a primary response vehicle. So that will have to be replaced as well. But so that's something to note, that those aren't like our other loans that once they're paid off, they're paid off. We'll be re-leasing and buying a new fire truck to, they'll probably go up on the next one. But we're kind of locked in for the periods that we're at now. And the 0.5% interest on the service truck is something to applaud.
I
Very
just wanted
reasonable.
to say, yeah, that Ted, if you can just let the public know for our public works vehicles, it's mostly for maintenance and to keep things running because snow plowing is one of our #1 things in the year. But with regards to our public safety vehicles, our fire trucks, etc., can you just remind the public why buying one that's newer, it may still be good in the 10 years when we have to buy a new one, but there's regulations in place to certify as a fire department, as well as keeping our insurances down because we have this certain things in place. Can you please explain that to our residents so that they'll understand why we budget for these types of things, even though they may seem okay?
Yeah, so we get reviewed, we get an ISO rating. And an ISO rating, our city gets an ISO rating. An ISO rating is something that happens every 5 years. And it's one of the things the insurance company use when they look at the insurability of a home. And when in that ISO rating, part of what they rate is our fire department, looking at several things, our trainings, our responses, our interagency coordination, stuff like that. And one of those is our compliance with the NFPA, the National Fire Standards. And the NFPA is what determines the life of your personal protection equipment, your vehicles and stuff like that. So we do our best as we can to stay compliant with NFPA. We can't do it completely, just because of our annual budget sometimes doesn't allow to spend the tens of thousands it requires to get all new fire stuff. So, but we come as close as we can. And by staying compliant with NFPA as good as we can, including vehicles, which determines how long the useful life of a frontline responding unit is, it helps keep our ISO rating better, which helps each individual homeowner's insurance rates and insurability. And I know it's a huge topic at the national level right now because companies have been dropping people, including myself was dropped. And I know others in the community have as well. So it's a big discussion right now, but those are that's the primary reason why we do that in the fire department. Aside from being able to respond and keep our community safe and our firefighters and our EMTs safe, it's also for compliance with the standards to help our residents. And if you want those numbers real quick for our wildland guys, this was the end of September. Their total expenses to the city, including wages, expenses, fuel, stuff like that, was $274,875. So about $275,000. Their total income or revenue they generated for the city by going on fires was $456,735. So they have generated a net positive revenue of $181,000 and some change for
Wow.
the city this year.
That's awesome.
So
Just this year.
just this year. So they do not only pay for themselves, but they generate revenue for our city as well.
And let's just note that he's doing it on the calendar year, January to September.
Yeah.
And all the numbers I'm talking about are in a fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th. Now people are like, oh, we got $180,000, let's go spend it. Well, a lot of wood has been taken out of the city. These guys pull a lot of wood out. And when the fires haven't quite started in April, May of next year, we're funding them so they can be working in the city and reducing the fuel load there until they can start generating revenue. So it's not like we have a windfall of 180,000, but I'll tell you what, this is the biggest windfall we have had in many, many years. Now the city is also, when this full fire program started, was retaining 25% of that for general use. And we have been using it. There's been some needs in the fire department specifically for some safety equipment that we've been able to put back into it and not, put the burden back on the taxpayers.
And the costs that also don't show up in here is, we have to meet a in-kind obligation as part of a state contract we have, with the state for our mitigation work. And, we're able to use their time working in the city to go towards that in-kind contribution instead of cash. We can use their salary. So this is just raw response to fire numbers. That doesn't include, other costs they offset for us as well. So it's been a great program for us.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on leases? Can you hear me okay, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, on leases, I know if you go too many miles or if you do certain things at the end of your lease, you have to pay extra. How have we fared in overdoing some of those limits on our leases in the past?
So on the last set of snowplow trucks we just turned in, we received $9,000 back.
Oh,
And
so
then
it sounds like we're not having to pay extra fees for any over usage then.
not yet. And all full disclosure, that was the first set of leases we did. So all these other ones that are on the screen here on line 16, 17, 18, and 19, they're all newer. Now we don't go over miles because our mileage is, we just don't travel that much. But obviously if there's some, if we give them bald tires or we come back with a dent in it, they're going to want their portion.
So maybe the tractor has an hours limit or something like that.
I could look, I can't remember exactly.
Okay,
what the
okay,
numbers
just
are.
curious. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Two more questions that were asked. One is there any kind of sinking fund for future use? And a sinking typically refers to a savings account. There is in the water for sure, because water acts as a business. We can save as much as we want to, or even go into debt within the water count, not into the negative. But anyways, I do want to talk about the line 6690 is what we call depreciation expense. But the water account has been putting at least 100,000, if not more, away per year for future savings. And we got up to about $1.4 million into that savings account. We've dipped into it. Thankfully we had it, but we dipped into it to do some of the well projects and some of those other things. Council, you will remember that we have had savings for the past 6 or 7 years that we were putting in there for fire, EMS, parks, and roads. And we couldn't keep up with inflation, and without hitting the taxpayers with higher and higher property tax rates. Last year it was disbanded, and we moved all that money to use right now instead of trying to save it up. We also have limitations, as Carrie has brought up before, that we can only save a certain percent within the general account every year, 3 to 20%. I don't know where it is this year, but we can only save a certain amount anyways. The state, I believe, in the law doesn't want the citizens or the city to charge citizens and to build up these huge bank accounts and just be flush. They want us to spend all the money. However, if we are saving for a specific project, like back in 2014, 15, 16, 17 for fiber, we move all that into a capital projects fund and we save it in there. And that's our vehicle for savings. But right now we have disbanded or turned off most of those capital projects funds. We're going to go ahead and tackle those road projects now before, I think, Brian, you mentioned roads or asphalt's going up 9 to 12% per year. We can't, it's been hard to save that much and to try and save inflation plus save the amount of money we need to pay cash for roads. So I know there's been some concern about that and people say, let's pay cash. That would be awesome. But we're going to have to dip into the residents' pockets a lot more to be able to get more cash to save. We
So
could,
Chris, although we're not doing the capital project funds for anything specific, are we still saving some money in our rainy day fund? I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit, but I'd just like our residents to be able to hear in this conversation. By state law, we can keep 25% of our annual budget. To my knowledge, we have never kept that much for the reasons you just said. We don't want to be hoarding taxpayer dollars. We want to use them efficiently and effectively to give the services that are needed to the city. But at the same time, we want to keep at least some in a emergency fund or a rainy day fund in case it's needed.
good,
So what?
good. I'm glad you brought that up because council did vote for $250,000. And so that is, we've put that aside in one of these capital project funds for a rainy day. A lot of our rainy day in the past years have been mainly pretty close to 100% in the water account. The rainy day funds that we're looking for in the general account, if something major happens to the roads or there's a natural disaster, we'll be having different discussions, but most of the time it's been water line breaks, pumps, those kind of things. And so the water account, we do try to keep a significantly higher balance in there. By law, we can. And the last question was, is there any amount of our budget that is 100% discretionary? That's kind of a loaded question. We could look at some of these taxes and say, yeah, they can be discretionary. We've taken a different approach in the city and we have given in certain categories within the expenses discretionary authority to different department heads like fire or roads or water. There's some discretionary money expenses in there that they can go ahead and use without having to come back to council. Not huge amounts, like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. But when it comes to discretionary, I think that's best I can answer there.
Okay.
I think,
Essentially, Chris, we are allocating every penny to a specific category every budget cycle.
we zero base budget. Yes, correct. So I think that covers all those questions. I think I've talked about our current financials. We've gone over some of those also. I talked fast and I didn't take a breath very much. So I will pause if there's any questions.
I want to kind of open it out of our normal, if Michael, if you have any questions right now, or if Steve, if you have any questions, if we can keep them brief, we could entertain those right now while it's all fresh on our mind. Michael, you good?
I have one question. I don't know which sheet it's off of. It's done.
Okay.
It's one of the ones that was on the attached here today. Under public safety, it has fire and fire fuel reduction amounts. Yes. One's 227, one's 253. I'm not sure what those are for.
What he was just talking about, were they?
Fire field reduction or wildland fire.
So one is the wildland fire crew, which is the fire reduction.
Okay.
And the other is the fire department. We have to pay leases on our fire truck. We just, normal operational things.
Hose, fuel, equipment.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. It helps clarify the fuel reduction. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's just the wildland fire crew.
Makes sense, thank you.
Perfect. Anything else from you, Michael?
I had one other question, and just because I don't have all the numbers in front of me. Based on the salary numbers, I was looking at the July disbursements. And the total on payroll there was combined was just under 80,000, which is more than 925 a year. And I don't know if there was just an anomaly in July. They created an increase. If you multiply that up by 12, it'd be more than the 925 you said, Chris.
Chris, do you want me to ask?
Our fire crews are working overtime.
The wildland fire.
They were 16-hour days.
And when they do work overtime, we pay them, we have to pay them the time and a half, and that does get reimbursed to us by the fire they're on.
The payments for their fires they go out on are delayed. They come later, right? It takes them a minute.
We have to submit them, so we have to pay them while they're on the shifts or working. And we submit them for reimbursement, so there will be delays, so we kind of front load their salaries. But we pay them out of those money we make off the revenue, just like a lot of our salaries are paid out of different funds for, not all taxpayers, right? We get paid out of water.
Yeah, as long as I understand, because the wildland crew is self-funded, basically. They're generating income,
They're
so
generating income for the city.
if it's in there, then it makes perfect sense. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, Steve, you just walked in.
Yeah,
Did you hear me ask you if you had any questions online?
yeah, I was getting ready to,
Okay.
but Mike beat me to it, but yeah, no, I don't, it's all pretty clear, so.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Anything else there?
No, and thank you, Mike, for the questions. Those were very good. If we need to talk about the discretionary a little more, feel free to call me if I didn't answer it the way you're looking for.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your patience. We'll turn the time over to you.
I will tell you, Mark was Zions Bank, super sharp guy. He used to be a city manager of a larger city in Utah that's in the Valley Mountains. So Mark, if you have anything you want to correct that I've said or anything you want to enhance, Mark would be the man to do it.
Thank you for the opportunity to meet with the council. I certainly recognize Carrie and Darrell, but it's been a minute since I've been at your city council meetings. I've worked on about 4 or 5 different financing since 2019 with the city, and it's been a pleasure working with you. As Chris indicated, I was a city manager in Heber for 20 years, and I started out as the finance director and worked in that role for 8 years. So a total of 28 years with the city of Heber, and we went from a population of about 5,000 to 16,000 during that time period. I've been with Zions Bank about 7.5 years now, and it's been an enjoyable experience. I remember as a kid in high school in Spanish Fork that went to school with the kids from Woodland Hills, and it was the Bushnells and the Neelys, and 50 years ago when it was just starting, fairly new in existence. Just want to talk a little bit about a potential road financing. As Chris mentioned, we have a 2019 sales and franchise tax revenue bond that refinanced some 2013 debt. And using that revenue pledge, it gives us the most capacity to borrow as a city. We also have what was a $580,000 loan for roads in 2020 that the repayment source is a pledge of your Class C road monies. The annual payment's a little less than $60,000, and that pays off in 2030. The revenue pledge that I've evaluated the most is looking at what capacity do you have to issue additional bonds with the same pledge as the 2019 sales and franchise tax bonds. Right now, you generate a little over about $415,000 a year in revenue in those between your telecommunications tax, your energy tax, and your sales tax. And the revenue pledge requires a coverage covenant of 1.5 times. So what that means is that you're with that $415,000 of revenue, you can only borrow an amount that is that 415,000 is 1.5 times, or approximately $276,000, and that's taking it right to keeping it at 150. We usually have higher coverage covenants in sales taxes than we do for water and bonds because the revenue streams can be more unpredictable with changes in economic conditions. So you have a little more latitude to have those revenues decline, but still have sufficient to make your debt service payment. So in looking at what, that 276,000 or 275,000 maximum kind of borrowing annual payment capacity that you have, you already have a current payment of about 108,000 on the 2019 bonds. Combined, you're going to be limited to about 270,000 or 75,000 in what capacity you have to bond. Now we've looked at, the city has the ability to refinance or pay off the 2019 bonds as of February of 2026. That's when the bonds become callable to where they could be paid off or refinanced. They carry a 2.43% interest rate. So in today's environment, we're probably looking at a rate for a 10-year loan somewhere in the 4%, high threes, 3.9, 4% range. So my initial recommendation is that we probably don't consider paying off the 2019 bonds, even though you could legally do that as of February of next year, because you won't be able to replace that same interest rate if you do. So what I've looked at is wrapping a debt around that, which gives you borrowing capacity, probably of about, let me bring this up, I'm sorry, an additional $1.45 million in bonding capacity, that we would have lower payments for the first 7 years when it wraps around the 2019 bonds, which mature in 2033, and then go up to the approximately $270,000 payment for the last 3 years of that bond. That seems to make the most financial sense to do it that way. I know the city has, possibly a couple $1 million in reserves that they can put towards this project. And hopefully between that and say the $1,450,000 that you can borrow comfortably, that hopefully that will get you through majority of what you're hoping to accomplish.
So just a couple key things. Once again, this is only the general account, and we're just talking high level numbers right now. So, don't want to emails. You said you can get 1.4 and you can only get 1.3, or you said 1.4, you got 1.8. We're just talking high level numbers now.
Yeah, that's based on today's interest environment. That's subject to change daily. So what questions can I answer?
10-year note.
Jody, what was that?
10-year note, right?
That was a 10-year note, correct, Mark?
Yes, and part of the conversation with Chris is with roads, you're probably really don't want to finance them for a period that would be potentially longer than the life of the improvement.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And, when you're pledging Class C road funds, which we did in 2020, you're legally limited to a 10-year term for borrowing, and you can only pledge 80% of the revenues that are as part of the repayment per state code. So that's the same philosophy as we're doing road improvements. We probably want to have a term that potentially won't outlive the improvement.
Makes sense. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark. Is there anybody that has any questions? Carrie?
I just wanted to know from Mark, since you have a history in municipal government as well as this experience with the banking industry and providing bonds for big projects like this. One of the things that has been talked with us about some of the residents who feel like we shouldn't borrow, we should just save up for projects. It has been our understanding as a council that because rates can change and increase over time, especially for roads, even if we saved up for 10 years, by the time the 10 years came, those road costs would be significantly larger than they are currently. And so in your expertise, is it wise for a city then to bond for these large improvements, recognizing the cost is there, but also being able to budget wisely for the repayment of these loans? As you said, state statute allows for this. Is that a wise use of our time and resources?
Carrie, I think there's value in considering it, especially if you're in an environment where the inflation rate on these improvements are higher than the bonding cost. You know, if you're looking at a 4% interest rate versus a 10% inflation rate, and you also get the benefit of economy of scale. A much larger project is going to get you more competitive bids and more interest. One of the things we did in Heber City, which we have some unfair advantages in that we have a healthy commercial district, and we have what's called the it's a local option transportation tax that was voter approved. It's another 0.3% in sales tax, that because we were off the it's a rural transportation tax. We were off the Wasatch Front. We could impose that, and between our Class C road funds and the rural road tax, what we would do is we would borrow enough money to basically maintain every road in the street about every road in the city about every 7 years, do the project all at once, and then pay it off in a 7-year period and start all over again, because we had sufficient revenues in those two sources to pay for the maintenance of the roads. And that's something that we did a couple times while I was there, and they're still doing it. But we have a much more diverse revenue base than Woodland Hills does, because you're a bedroom community with very little sales tax and essentially no commercial businesses. So all cities are not created equal.
Perfect. Ted, I think you've got something there too.
Yeah, maybe we can just, as I was looking at this road project, I ran some numbers today and shot these over to Chris to verify them, and wanted to put some actual dollars to this, because sometimes we talk about, well, it's a lower interest rate to borrow the money versus construction inflation, and what does that really mean? Does that generate really any savings for the city? So I actually ran some numbers today of our road project. Now the road projects we're doing right now roughly are about $2.6 million is the total cost of the projects. Let's say if we were to, when we looked at this, we went through the city and looked at what revenue could we spend per year to pay for the $2.6 million worth of projects. And we could contribute roughly $350,000 to $400,000 a year towards a road project. And that would include cutting some salaries and saving some of the other places and stuff like that, right? So that means it takes about 7.5 years to do those roads, if we were to pay cash as we go. So I took the project every year and broke it up into $350,000 projects over 7.5 years. And as you can see with construction inflation, now this was a study that was done by actually our finance committee, who did some extensive study work and found out that construction inflation right now is between 6 and 10%. So I took the conservative side and I said, let's say 6% construction inflation over those 10 years. Well, actually 7.5 years, which actually turns into 9 because you run out of money, or you don't have enough money at the end of 7.5 years because of inflation. So as you can see, it breaks down all the numbers. And basically at the end of that project life, we're paying about $4 million for that $2.6 million because of construction inflation is what it's going to cost us to do those projects. It extends the projects an extra 1.5 years. So we've in effect paid about $1.4 million in addition to the original $2.6 million in today's numbers for those projects. Then I looked at, okay, that's paid cash for it over the 7.5, well, actually be 9 years. Then I looked at, what if we finance it today at a 4% interest rate over 10 years loan? It roughly generates an annual payment of roughly, say, $325,000 a year, which over the course of 10 years is $3.25 million. And so it saves us, I can't see the number, but roughly $6
600.
So that's the added cost of the original project dollar through, because of the interest. So it saves us almost $750,000 by financing the project versus trying to do it over the course of 7.5 to 8 years paying cash. Now, that doesn't consider that a couple of things. One is that we're going to be spending more on maintenance, trying to keep those roads up over the next 9 years while you're trying to pay cash for them. And two, it assumes that the same treatment would apply today or would apply in 6 or 7 years as it does today, which wouldn't be the case. The reality is for about 9 miles of roads that we just did cost us about $500,000. That 9 miles probably in about 6 to 7 years are probably going to cost us, because no longer can we do a micro seal. We're going to have to do a mill and fill. They'll probably cost us, $2 to $3 million. So we're talking probably, if you were looking conservatively, $750,000, but more likely you'd be around over the 2 million mark in added cost versus financing them today. So I just want to throw some real dollars at that. Why municipal financing is, I know, and we've had this discussion, we're taught in our personal finances, do not get in debt, to avoid debt. We're taught that from the time we're a little kid, but municipal financing is actually not a bad thing. We actually, in the long run, save taxpayer dollars. And then we also save in maintenance costs and time and stuff like that. So I just want to give people perspective. I've been doing, project planning, budgeting, financing for years, helping small communities. And there was always this conception that, well, you don't want to get in debt, got to stay out of debt. Well, municipal debt's not a bad thing. It actually saves money if you can leverage your money and turn it into more money and complete projects. And then like Mark said, with what they did in Heber, we pay this off in 10 years and we're ready to start and kind of do roads again, only the next time they won't be as expensive because we've now applied treatments to them right now that will help them be less expensive treatments in 10 years. So it's kind of a windfall as you keep going. So I'm just hoping to, it's not always a great thing. We don't want to overextend ourselves, but where we've got guaranteed debt, municipal debt and financing is not a bad route to go.
The other thing I like is that the people who are going to use the roads are paying for them and not previous citizens that were paying into the city and prior years. So I think that's important.
Yeah, it does a better job of matching the benefit for who's paying for it and who's enjoying the new roads.
And there's a lot of cities I've worked with over the years that they leverage their debt to the max all the time because they know that's how they actually save money.
It's very helpful.
It's hard though. It's hard to explain that to people if they.
Yeah, I know, because we've been ingrained in us throughout our lives in our personal finances to avoid debt.
Because I've heard it out there as I've been out there that it's such a bad thing that we have all this debt, and I'm like, we really don't.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot, and it's not really, debt's not a bad thing for a municipality. It actually will in the long run save you money.
It provides some amount of flexibility as well, which can be good and bad. You're conservative in estimating the construction costs, but changes in industrial processing of various materials can make those costs go up or down. So you can be conservative. Sometimes you may get a small windfall by having costs go down. So if you have the money stretched out, it does give you some more flexibility to deal with these issues.
Yeah, and I like just personally what I've done over the last few years is I don't like debt financing everything, right? Save some money up and then use that money to leverage more money in debt financing. Makes the project even go farther. So you don't want to completely, I think, maybe loan 100% of the project, but like this project, now that was the total project cost. We're actually using some of our own cash, which will bring that loan amount down. We're not actually going to loan 2.6 million. It's only going to be, if this goes forward, it's going to be like half of that because we put $1 million into it of our own money and helps then leverage some more loan money to complete the total of the project. I think a balance of the two is a good place to be.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. Okay, any other questions for Mark? Well, Mark, thank you so very much. You're welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting,
It's exciting.
or you're welcome to keep your sanity and run, whichever works for you.
I think I've done a lot of city council meetings in my career, and this has been enjoyable, but I'll pass on sticking around. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
It's
Mark.
a pleasure working with you folks.
We appreciate you.
by,
Okay, we'll move on to number 4, discussions of the July. We'll probably actually clump the two, Chris. We'll go July and August if anybody has any questions concerning the financials, fund distributions, or check approvals. Okay, any questions for Chris? No?
Sorry, can I go back?
Will be kind, yeah.
I have one question I forgot to ask was, what's the total city budget?
Total city budget? Chris, total city budget.
Let's, give me a second here.
Now, are you wanting total city budget of the general account, total city budget of all accounts, total?
Because water pays for water.
So sewer pays for sewer, so.
What's the way I've worded the question before, not including the pass-throughs? Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if water pays for water and the fire department pays for the fire department, that's not of interest to me. It's the money that the city is spending on the city, that the city gets.
That's.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Building monies, or some of those are passed through.
We've got development that's passed through.
Which goes
some-
into the general fund.
But then it comes back out.
Yeah, but then you have to break it line by line, instead of just saying what's our
Okay.
budget for the general.
So it's not as simple a question as I thought.
Not as simple as questions.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine then.
But we can get you a big number if you want.
It is.
That's why.
Again, I think there are numbers out there and I'm looking for accurate numbers and I just don't know what's accurate because I can't.
For sure.
I'm not trained to read the numbers.
We
out
would
there.
have to break everything out. Not saying that it couldn't be done, but then we would have to be keeping track of our time and hourly that way too. So like Ted spends maybe 3 hours on building on a day and 2, and we,
Because some of our salaries are from past
Yeah.
years, right? It's
Right.
all tax.
And I know they all come out of different funds. I just wasn't sure if the city has a total amount that covers whatever our costs are every year, whether it's salary or building fund or utilities or insurance and things like that. That's what I was looking for. Because again, there's numbers being tossed out there. And I don't know if those numbers are accurate.
Good question.
So, and if it's too complicated to get it, that's fine. I get that.
no, it could be done.
It's a good question. We just, we have to add up the revenues that are passed throughs and the dispenses.
There generally is a standard definition. Most cities can tell you what their budget is. There is a standard way of doing this, I'm sure.
Yeah, we know what the budget is. We just, because some of our revenues are coming in and out, right? And so we're just he's wanting
Not the pass-throughs.
not the pass through. So
The
it'd be
budget's posted everywhere. You can look at it.
Yeah, our budget for this year's, the general account's just shy of $6 million, but that's because of the big road projects. And then in the water account, and this is the whole budget together, the water account is just shy of $1 million.
But then like the general 3 million, that's like a pass-through, right? Because of the road project. So it comes in right back out.
Yeah.
So you said the road project, 3 million out of the 6 million. So would it be fair to say or fairly safe to say that roughly the city budget is 3 million on average?
No, it's closer to 1.8 too.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 million. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
And then that includes still some.
Sorry to go backwards.
Hey, you're great.
Appreciate the grace.
Okay, then if there's no questions for Chris on July or August financials, we will move to number 6, consideration of an ordinance adopting a change in municipal code 8.5.1. These are water requirements and policies. Is this you, Wayne, or is this Ted?
This is for the selling.
Didn't we talk about this a little bit last time?
Yeah,
We did.
I'll just give you a quick brief.
Quick brief overview. I know we've covered this a few times in our councils, but as a city, we have quite a few excess water rights. Water rights we probably won't use. Now, we can't give away those water rights or sell the water rights, but we can allow developers to pay a fee in lieu of bringing their own water rights to us. So in other words, we're going to collect a fee from them and then we'll allocate our portion of theirs towards that development. That generates some income for the city. And gives us a way to kind of divvy out some of our excess water rates for these developments. We've nearly got enough through build out. We're kind of looking at that now. So the thought is, why don't we start doing a fee in lieu of? Because if we keep collecting, we're going to be over collecting and This also helps our city to show beneficial use for these water rights because the state requires you to show that you can beneficially use the water rights. And if through a master plan, we show that we've got too many water rights, we would likely have to give those back. So this helps us beneficially use them, generate some income, and gives a mechanism for developers to purchase water rights or better like at least water rights from the city.
But then if we ever, and we talked about this before, but then if we ever get where we feel like we need to start collecting them again, we can just easily.
Yeah, this
change
doesn't
it.
do away with that policy. This allows an option. We'll still keep the option of they can bring water rights to the city.
So if it was someone
We'll
that
have
was
both
maybe doing
options.
something bigger, would you probably still require them to bring water and maybe just not some of the?
Yeah, it would depend, and I don't know there'd be something big enough in our city right now that would necessitate that. But this is just opens up another option for the city regarding our water rights. We can either allow developers to bring them, or they can lease them from the city.
Okay,
Pay a fee in lieu of is what they call it. So pay a fee in lieu of bringing them to the city.
okay.
I think Gary had a question.
Yes, Carrie.
Yes, Ted, I was just wondering, so the option is the city's option, not the developer's option. They come to us, if we want to, we offer them this option. Otherwise, they need to bring it to, bring us the actual water rights. But if we have enough, then we can offer them to give us the fee for the excess that we already have. Is that correct? It's not they come to us saying, we just want to purchase them. We don't want to bring them to you. It's our option, not theirs.
Well, we will offer them either option and they can choose which one they want to do. We can't
Yeah,
force them.
that's what I mean. We offer it, not, they don't come to us with the offer. We offer them and then they choose.
Right.
And
Okay,
just
thank
for the
you.
record, the current water shares that are for sale on KSL for Woodland Hills is not us.
They're not our cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a
That was
current
weird.
resident that is selling their own personal water
Yeah.
shares.
Excess
Just so
ones that
nobody
they
sees
have
it
or
and
something.
thinks we're having this conversation and we're selling water shares on
Yeah,
KSL.
no. This just opens up a second avenue for us and it helps us with our water rights.
Steve,
Yes, Steve.
Steve Jones, Oak Drive. How much excess would we say we have right now in water shares?
Probably about twice as many as we need. We're still working through the final numbers, but we're probably got about twice as many as we need right now for our current situation. Our city, according to the growth projections and build out planning they've been looking at, we're about half built out. So if we were to hang on to all our water rights, we would likely be about right at that build out level. But this is over the course of the next 50 years. So by allowing this option, we can let them pay a fee and then reserve some of our water rights for them. And at some point down the road, we decide that we now need to start keeping some of those or collecting more, we just go back and eliminate that option. But right now, we've got plenty of water rights and we have to show beneficial use for those water rights too. So if we keep collecting them, we're likely gonna have too many and we're not gonna be able to show beneficial use for them and we'll lose them. So this kind of gives us, in other words, we're kind of pumping down the well a little bit to allow it to build up again.
Another thing, we can't sell water rights outside the city. The
Yeah.
water rights that the city has now has to stay dedicated to our city. So it's not like we're gonna be going on the open market and selling water shares.
And we
They have
can't
to stay
sell
in
them
the
at
city.
all. We have to, they will stay in our name, they'll be our water rights. We just allow developers to pay a fee in lieu of having to bring water shares to us.
What's kind of the value or the quantity of shares we have, roughly?
800-ish acre feet, I think, is somewhere in that neighborhood.
And how many does the city need at build out? Because
I want to say it was 900, 890 something, I think. And these are, I'm throwing out really round numbers.
for sure, yeah.
Because I'd have to, I've been going through these and I still haven't got a fine handle. I just kind of got a spreadsheet together 2 days ago that's helping me fine tune these. We had a water rate study that was done 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that kind of showed that we have plenty of water rights.
Sweet.
Do you have a question, Michael?
No, thank you.
Yeah, Ted, you just should stay right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll move on to number 7, if nobody else has any questions around that ordinance. We'll go to grant updates. So we'll go with the culvert project, Ted, the MAG Trail Feasibility Grant, and then the FEMA AFG grant.
So the culvert update is that project is tied to the countywide NRCS project. And that project is going slow, as most federal projects do. They've just completed the environmental process, and I think environmental is supposed to be done at the end of this year. So our FEMA project is basically 90% designed. We're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for the NRCS to kind of catch up to us. If everything stays on track and the federal government continues to fund the NRCS project, we'll likely be doing construction sometime around 2027-ish.
Okay, for those that don't know, that's culverts down Broad Hollow to help deal with the mitigation effort up by the well.
Yeah.
Headed down out of the city, correct?
Yeah.
Runoff.
The NRCS project is a mitigation project up by the well that helps us control our runoff and snow issues and directs water safely and routes it safely around homes and residences and back into the drainage again at the bottom of the city. That project doesn't pay for culverts, so we went to FEMA and asked for some funding for culverts because we have to culverts under all the driveways and the roads and stuff. And so FEMA's agreed to do that, but they're kind of tied together, so.
Perfect. Okay, MAG Feasibility Trail.
We're about probably 50% through. So that was a grant we received from Mountain Land Association of Governments, which is actually coming to Utah County. $100,000 grant to do a trail study to look at the feasibility of a trail of a specific location that would come up Woodland Hills Drive, swing back around down Summit Creek and kind of tie 11-200 in from both ways, and then an offshoot up to the park. Is to look specifically at a trail that would then eventually tie into a county-wide trail system that's being planned also. So we're about 50% through that plan right now, going well.
Perfect. And is the FEMA AFG grant you?
That's brand new.
Perfect.
We just, as of, I think it was a week ago or a week and a half ago, I notified, I applied for it's assistant firefighter grant. This was to help us even get, the city was kind enough to allow us with some of our wildland fire money to purchase some SCBA's because ours have been way outdated.
And then SCBA is
it's the breathing apparatus that we use when you go in a house on fire. It's the pack and the tanks and the mask. So ours were outdated. We had 4 or 5 years ago bought some used equipment, but it is now expired. So the city back in the winter was kind enough to let us use some wildfire money extra money that we'd made to purchase some of them that we needed. And at the same time, I applied for a grant through FEMA for some more, and I got notified about a week and a half ago that we got awarded that grant. So we'll be getting 6 more SCBA's.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay, any questions on any of the grants? Wonderful. Okay, then we'll go to the departmental reports. No, Ted, you're still there. You like how I wait till you try?
Yeah. I guess I should just.
Let's go with Public Works and Fire Department, and then you'll be able to leave.
Okay. Public Works, our road projects are nearing completion for this year. We've got them all done as far as the paving goes. They did a little bit of striping this week. They've been working on the manholes and I apologize for the zigzag. They have to leave those cones in place. They like to leave them in place for 7 days because it takes that long for concrete to cure to about 75%. They try to avoid traffic running them over during those 7 days, but they're nearing completion on those. And so we've just about wrapped up this year's paving projects. And then depending on how this funding discussion goes, we've got another one planned for next year towards the top of the city, Thousand Oaks and Loafer in that area, and the top of Woodland Hills Drive.
Are they striping the lower half of Woodland Hills?
So striping the lower half of Woodland Hills. Everything that's got new pavement or microseal is going to get striped on Woodland Hills Drive because that's the only street we've had striped.
Perfect.
Well, and then they did the little island around the gate at the bottom of Summit Creek because that was striped before too. And then I'm working right now on some planning for water and road projects over on Maple, Highline, Sky Lake, and some of those that we need to do water line projects with. So I'm working on the planning of those right now, and we'll hope to have more information in the near future on that. Our well project is pretty much complete. We're just waiting now for a few of the SCADA upgrades to get done, and then we'll have the well all done. They're gonna pave the last little bit this week, hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. Somehow they always schedule us on rain days to pave, so it'll probably get delayed, but. Anyway, any questions on public works? That's all I can really think of. Snow plowing seasons, we had salt delivered today, so we're getting geared up for snow plow season, got the trucks all.
So it popped up, just so you know, today is October 14th. It popped up in my Facebook memories that last year, October 13th was the day we had that big snow and all the trees broke
Yeah,
in my yard, because I had a tree that broke my fence, and my husband was gone, and I actually took the day off work and was out in the yard pulling trees by myself.
Aren't you a ray of sunshine? Thank you.
I haven't seen any snow in the
Count
forecast
your
for this week.
blessings,
It's
because
just a week delayed. It's next week, don't worry.
we haven't had it yet, so that is my ray of sunshine.
Our
Is
snowplow group is having our kickoff meeting tomorrow, our seasonal kickoff meeting tomorrow. So
all right.
geared up for the year.
We're ready then.
We are.
I have a very minor question.
Mhm.
What is the ownership of the chunks of asphalt that fall off the side of the road into my yard? May I repurpose them, or is the city going to charge me for them?
They're yours for free.
Thank you. Glad to know.
Just bury them under.
Yeah,
need
if they're broken off, we won't charge you for them at all. They're yours. Have at them.
Fire?
Our wildland fire crew is getting ready to wind down for the season, a couple more weeks, and they'll be done for the year. We'll be laying them off as full-time employees. We do stay available during the winter, and because our engine boss is available to go over the winter, and if we get a call, I usually can scramble up a couple guys out of some other departments, and we'll send them out because our truck makes quite a bit of money going on these fires, and that's what generates revenue for the city. So
Didn't we do that like early spring last year before we had our crew that we got called out?
we actually started last January. It was our first one last January, and we went again in April, and I think we went April and May on fires as well. So we're going to try and do that again this year and see if we can generate even more revenue for the city. That's all I can think of for fire department updates, unless you got any questions.
Wonderful. Any questions for Ted? Okay, Wayne? Oh. No, okay. Wayne, code enforcement.
Been slow.
Good.
Working on a dog complaint now, barking, but
Oh, that would be my house.
yeah, no.
I always joke, I'm sorry.
Let me update you on a couple other things that planning commission is working on. We've been given the responsibility of working with Three Bridges and others on the mail facility. So we're soliciting information, and that was my little letter on the newsletter to let residents know if they had any questions, any ideas, any thoughts about our new mail facility to let me know. I put my email there. So for you council members, if you've got anybody has some ideas, I mean, it's kind of a blank slate right now. We've got some ideas, but we're still in the taking mode of it. We'll be meeting with the post office next week and getting their thoughts and ideas on any criteria that they have and things that they would like to see in it. So just be aware of that. Also,
I have a request that I know some of the citizens do, is if we could get it more covered, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's gonna be double the size, but
okay.
just, I don't know, more roof.
There's been talk about even enclosing it to a
Yeah.
degree.
I've had some that have said they would love to see something like Summit Creek has, because theirs is really nice, and you can go inside and, anyway. That would probably fix some of the problem with all of the sparrows, right?
Yeah, There may be other ways too to address that, but we will.
Okay.
However, we do to keep the birds out, so.
Doral?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. We need to keep the bird poop out of there.
Yeah.
It got really bad a couple times this summer.
Are we taking any requests from, super tall people or short people to see where their boxes are?
Yeah, I have to
potentially
stand on my
located?
tippy toes and do this. Yeah, I know.
There's a standard. It just wasn't necessarily followed on that mailbox.
No,
No?
They do it by, they like to do it by road and then just go straight down. And so it's easier just when they do the mail. If you try and take special requests.
and it makes it, then they'll really mess it up. They
Yes.
already do.
Okay.
But the point being is, like, there are requirements just because of accessibility now that the
Right.
boxes can only be so high at this point, so you shouldn't have that problem.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. anything else?
We tend to forget the challenge that the post office has in facilitating the delivery of the mail. We look at it from our end and not from theirs, but I hope with our meeting with them, we'll get those thoughts and put them into practice. Last thing, the Community Development Committee that is working on the general plan with our contractor. I think they're in final stages of putting that together. I'm doing some preliminary review. Hopefully the planning commission will be doing their review of it as well. But I'm trying, as we get some of the sections done, reviewing them, and there's some things that need to be further addressed. And so I'm giving those back to the committee and asking them to address those. As soon as we get it and do our review and have what we feel is a final document, then we'll be providing that to the planning commission, or excuse me, to the city council for their review, and see if there's any other changes that they want to feedback to us and the committee to make any changes to that. But I think right now it seems to be coming along pretty good. I know it's been quite a while in putting together, but there's a lot of work that's gone into it. And I think it's looking pretty decent. So
Hey,
any
Wayne,
questions?
can we
Yes.
get, with that plan, can we get a bit of time before we're gonna bring it up in council? It's a big document, like plenty of time to review it, and we're all pretty busy, and I would love to get more time than a few days to review that before we
Sure.
bring it up for discussion. I'd really
No.
appreciate it.
Yeah, by all means.
Have we seen a copy of it and I missed it or not yet?
No, it has not yet been finalized, or the committee is still looking over it, and that's part of my report as well. They're still looking it over. The planning commission will put it on their agenda, and then once it's turned over to us, we don't have to put it on our agenda right away. We can have time to review it and just let the mayor know when we actually want to have it for discussion and review and or adoption or changes. It doesn't have to be like the next week after planning commission. We can have some time to go through it.
I think that'd be good, to Brian's point, so we can ask some intelligent questions, right? And maybe some suggestions.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll then go into our council reports. We excuse the mayor. I should have done that in the beginning of the meeting. But the mayor's excused. For me, the Dry Creek Transfer Station, we have had a board meeting there. Not much to report there, though I also had a board meeting with the New Era dump. So that is where the transfer station transfers our waste to. There, we're kind of fighting them right now. So for those that don't know, the Bayview transfer station is owned by 4 different entities, 4 different transfer station points. And the the Bayview dump currently is striving to increase their revenue by increasing our dumping fees to them. But we're fighting them on if they actually need what they are claiming that they need. So I'll keep you guys all posted on that as I gain more information. Councilmember Hutchings, water.
So, we have not had anything, so I've got nothing to report again.
Wonderful, thank you. Should we just skip you, Councilmember Kinnison? Because you get a little excited when you have to debrief on 911 dispatch.
We should spend about an hour on 911 dispatch, but they canceled the meeting this month, so I don't get to talk to you.
I tease you, but I actually really enjoy listening to those ones. So
Especially how excited he is about it. Makes me smile.
it's good.
It's a great organization. When you call 911, you need to know what happens. So that's my goal.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you, Doral. Councilmember Lunt.
So I don't have any of the other committees, but I haven't had a chance. I just a short debrief on Woodland Hills Days. It was really good. We had the biggest crowd we've ever had. We had over 700 people in attendance this year, which was really awesome. I think obviously we got a lot of the crowd that normally doesn't come out because of the movie. The movie was really good. It was really well received. And I just have to say, if you were there, and I know I'm gonna get teary-eyed, but when we were sitting there watching it as a community, there was just this awesome feeling of community with everybody that was sitting there. There was just such a great feeling. There's a lot of history there, and it was a really special night. You could feel it in the air, and I was just really grateful for the committee that put so much work into that and did so much work. So
Can I interrupt you just for a second there?
yeah.
Hillary, were you guys able to receive or see that video? It's a 55th anniversary of Woodland Hills video that was put together.
No comment.
Oh, okay. Well, wonderful. Okay, sorry, Janet.
So it just was really good, and we got a lot of good feedback from people that were there, and so I thought it was great. We did do something a little bit different this time in that it was kind of an on your honor, but what we decided, we didn't want to charge for the dinner, but it does cost quite a bit to do the dinner. And so we like to provide it for residents, but we get a lot of non-residents that come to Woodland Hills Day. So we did a $5 per meal for non-residents. And it was an on your honor. We just had a QR code and or cash. A lot of people did give cash to like Tracy Cali. Anyway, but we did collect a good little chunk. So people did it. So, and nobody complained. I didn't get any complaints. And people said that, because we've debated for years, do we charge for dinner or do we not charge for dinner? But anyway, so I think we'll keep doing that because that seemed to work good and nobody was upset about it. And then just trunk or treat is coming up, and it will be Halloween night, which is Friday night, so that'll be a good night. And the fire department gets to be there and has to be there, but gets to be there. And we'll do all the things that we always do. One thing I think to be really cautious of, and I'll make sure that the sheriff's there too, but just with kind of the climate in our world right now, the state just wanted to make sure that we were really careful about displays and that they're not too ghoulish or too gruesome. They always have that message every year, but they really felt it this year. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't like a headless Trump or something. I'm just saying, like, they just want to make sure that there's nothing that's violent Halloween, it's a fine line, right? But so just to kind of spread the word on that. But yeah, that's all I've got.
Do we have a plan there at all for inclement weather by chance?
No.
Okay.
We just go with it.
Wonderful.
Hey, Janet.
We've had rain before. Yeah.
Your history video, 635 views to right now. So that's pretty good.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councilmember Malkovich, Utah Valley's South Utah Valley Animal Shelter.
Yes, we have not had a meeting, so I don't have a current report, but we do have them on our agenda for October 28th, they're going to give a presentation on the services that they provide to the city, as we are a member city with them, as well as some of the other policies that we have discussed in the past. So we're looking forward to that on October 28th.
Wonderful, thank you. Any upcoming city council meeting items that anybody would like to propose?
I had something, but I don't remember, so I'll email Jody and the mayor.
Okay, and I think we may get some from you, Hillary, potentially. Would you like any of your topics today to be added to a future agenda for anything?
Well, we'll bring up this one because it's timely,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Sure. Okay.
They're here, so maybe during public.
Yeah, we'll discuss those, and if so, we'll add those potentially to future council discussion. Okay, wonderful. Then we will close the work session of this meeting, and we are going to take a 4.5 minute break, and we will start back up at 7:30. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to City Council meeting. We will start with an invocation from Councilmember Lunt, and then our pledge, due to the fact that all the council is on hiatus today, will be actually given to us by Steve Johns.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we can gather here this evening as a city to talk about our budgets and talk about things that need to be worked on in our city. And please help us to use the input from experts and from our citizens and to make wise decisions and things that will be best for the future of our city in the long run. And please help us to always be available and mindful of our citizens and to make best decisions that we can. And we're so grateful for this opportunity to serve and for the people that we get to serve with and serve for. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. Join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Steve. We will now, with much awaited need, we will open the public comment. The floor is yours, Hillary.
I sit here.
You're welcome to sit there, or you're welcome to join us up here. If you could just state your name for the record, that would be great.
My name is Hillary Orman, and I have two topics today. I'm mostly looking for help in advertising these two things, and any other help that I could get, any suggestions you have, I would appreciate. The first one is elk. And Wes Alexander, who's a wildlife biologist with the Department of Wildlife Resources, is going to come on October 30th and give an informational talk to people about the two elk herds that are in our area. And over the summer, I had an opportunity to go with DWR people and several others as they tagged newborn deer and elk on Mount Nebo. And I got to talk to people. And there was quite a bit of information about the wildlife, and especially the elk, that I didn't know and wouldn't have suspected. And so I asked other people in my circle of acquaintances, were they interested in knowing more about elk? And lots and lots of people are interested. Getting people to remember to come to a talk at 7 o'clock on October 30th is really the problem. Lots of people are interested, and I'd like to get a good turnout for Wes. I told him that we have a lot of citizens who have various concerns about the elk. The thing that motivated me to talk to Wes was obviously the range for the herd is diminishing as we get more development here. I asked him what he thought the effect would be. And he had a lot of interesting things to say about it. He doesn't have an agenda on this. He works with various stakeholders who are impacted by the herds. And certainly, each herd is about 100 animals. What they weigh? 500 pounds each. 100 500-pound things walking around that has an impact. But I've never had a visitor to my house who's seen the elk herd who hasn't been just overwhelmed. Just that is amazing. And you get to see this. You get to be an observer of this part of nature. It is special. And if there's anything that we can do to coexist with the elk better, either here in Woodland Hills or encouraging communities that impinge on us, I personally would like to see it done. And I want to make it clear that I understand that hunting is part of the ecosystem. And there would not be any elk here were it not for hunters and the Department of Wildlife. These are not native elk herds. They were brought in from California specifically for hunting because earlier people here killed all the elk. Maybe they didn't quite understand what they were doing. We understand what we were doing. We should at least have an awareness of what's going on. That's my goal, and I really hope people come out to listen to Wes. And
post one of these at the, or I can if you're not able to, but at the mailboxes on the bulletin board.
How often do you look at the bulletin board?
What?
I've had posters up there since Friday, I think.
Okay, I haven't checked the mail in a few days. And then does anybody object to me putting it on our official page and then sharing it to the community page? Because it is going to be here at the community center. So we post things for trunk or treat, some of those other things that aren't necessarily sponsored by the city. So does anybody object?
I think it's appropriate.
Okay, all right.
And Doral, could I kind of put you over kind of helping evangelize this a little bit?
Yes, Hillary, I want to thank you for communicating with Wes. They are working on a write-up. I don't know the status of it, but I'd like to know if he might want to hand that out. I also believe, and I've seen his video presentation, if he needs some video aids or something, I would like you to be the communicator between the city and him, since you've started that, if you don't mind. But find out what he needs, because we really want to help him give the best presentation we can get.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because I don't know what to do about AB for that community room.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to ask you, I am assuming this is going to be held in the big room, and we don't really have a great sound system or other things there in the past. Ben, you have helped us quite a bit set that room up. Is that a possibility?
Wes will not need a mic.
But our citizens might want to have a mic, is what I'm saying. I know Wes, but I'm just saying that it might be beneficial we don't want anyone to feel like they came and they're sitting on the back row because we have such a large capacity there that they can't hear. So I just think that we should be prepared in all ways to accommodate whoever attends, because I think this is really important.
Yeah, I can set up all the AV, so I can put up a projector screen and sound
Perfect.
system.
That's what we need, Ben. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
I can't find the raise my hand. This is Diana.
You're good. Please carry on.
Thanks. Hi, Hillary. Thank you for doing this. Hillary, I want to ask you specifically before the city weighs in, how do you feel about me contacting each of the LDS Ward newsletter persons and asking them to put it in their newsletter?
Ooh, I like it.
It's fine with me. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Not that the word newsletter would be bad, but any way you have of spreading the word, I would greatly appreciate.
Thanks, Hillary.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, and you said you had a second topic as well.
I do. This is about school lunch debt. And this is a somewhat complicated topic to understand in full. But basically, what happens in the Nebo School District and all school districts in Utah is there are families that qualify for free lunches in primary and middle school. That's fine. There's another class of people who qualify for reduced price lunches. And sometimes they cannot pay, and that is a problem. It's a complicated problem. It has to do with an uncomfortable juncture between federal funding for lunches and state politics. But the schools really don't have any standard way of dealing with this. And sometimes it will happen that a school will essentially shame the child for not paying the lunch debt.
Yeah, they tell them their balance and tell them they're in the hole right when they're at the front of the line in front of all their friends.
There are various things that happen, and it's not the kid's fault, but the schools are required to try to recover that money. And in extreme circumstances, they will use a debt collector. And this can cause a spiraling kind of poverty for the family. And, imagine a kid thinking, because I insisted on eating lunch when I was 8 years old, my family became homeless for 3 years, and that's why I didn't get to go to college. It's extreme, but it's ridiculous that it happens. I think the Nebo School District told me last year that they have about $100,000 in debt. They used to do some child shaming at the discretion of the school. Now they tell me that what they do is there's a principal's discretionary fund, and they will spend that money on the school lunches. But that means that other things that this discretionary fund was really meant for don't get taken care of. So I was going to do fundraising for this last year. I started talking to people, and I realized I would have to set up a separate bank account, probably a nonprofit corporation, if I was really going to do it right. Just GoFundMe didn't feel sufficient for this. And then I read in the paper about the Utah Lunch Debt Relief Foundation, which is a nonprofit. And they have set up a link for contributing money to this lunch debt relief. There's a lot I can say about this, like why doesn't the state pick up this debt, which is hardly an overwhelming debt. That's why I say it's a political juncture that's really uncomfortable. It's been there a long time. And still, the school lunch debt needs to be paid. So somebody told me recently that if you have a child in school in Nebo District and you use their app for paying, there is an option to donate money for another child. So that's one way to pay. Another is to participate in the vanity license plate program that this nonprofit has started, which both advertises the problem and may bring in revenue. They need about 100 more people to sign up for the vanity plate before they can actually get it produced. And the other is donate money, just donate some money and help out a family that, maybe they thought at the beginning of the year that they could pay for all their kids' lunches. Something went wrong and they fall into debt.
Can I have that and I can put it in the city newsletter?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Do you have that digitally?
Yeah.
Could you email that to Janet?
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, or I could just steal it and scan it in. I have a color scanner at my office.
We've got one.
Everything I do is digital. So you want digital, you're gonna get digital.
My email's on this city website. And I do the newsletter, and so we get different things, like Carrie will get stuff for the animal shelter, different things, and we'll put it in the newsletter, so I can add that to it. I think that's a great cause, a good thing to add.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've all been so nice. Can I ask for a pickleball court?
I want one too.
Can you add a second?
Chris, did you hear that?
Okay, thanks for.
You're not getting any pushback on the pickleball court from us.
I said
No.
maybe we play pickleball in the big room in the
You have to
winter.
fight Ted for the helicopter, so.
We've talked about striping the big room, so
Yes, we
we'll
have.
continue to talk about it.
The cost per foot on striping is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably be me that ends up striping.
It would
but
be
we'll-
painter's tape.
Yeah.
Putting it on the
I
floor.
also,
Go ahead.
Yes, Carrie?
I just wanted to let everybody know that there have been several attempts at the legislative level to provide the school lunch debt relief. And the bill that was this last session did not pass, but I believe when I talked to the sponsor, they were bringing it back again with some tweaks that people are looking at. I know that the Speaker of the House was anxious about finding a resolution. So from my side, I'll work on that a little bit more and see what we can do there.
Well, that
Thank
would
you,
be
Carrie.
great, but the reason I wanted to start this last year was I heard about that legislation. And I thought, if the legislature knows that ordinary people feel strongly about this problem, enough so they'll put their money on the line to help out, then certainly that would motivate the legislators to get over some of their issues about this. But as I say, it's a big thing, but it's still necessary for people to show that they actually care about this. It really is necessary. The legislature
Absolutely.
might not solve it. But
Yeah,
thanks.
and there are school districts that have had individuals come and pay off the school debt. You can look that up in the press. There have been multiple people who have said, I'm just coming in and paying off all the debt for this particular school district. And it's quite heroic for them to use their own funds to do that. But I like the idea, Hillary, of having collective. If everybody puts in a little bit, then that adds to an overall resolve to help those in our own community who may be feeling the burden of this debt. So thank you.
Thank you. And Hillary, emailed me and asked for these two different topics to be discussed. So thank you so much for doing that. You're welcome to stick around and watch us vote for these very exciting things.
Community page too.
That'd be great. Anybody else Steve, do you have anything for public comment? Michael, Diana?
No, I don't think so. Anything I should have? It's voting opened up today.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, boy.
Diana?
Oh,
I see.
I have
you
one
come-
comment that should have been in the last hour.
Yeah.
I'm just a little concerned about the snow. Just going downhill past the church where we've got the pile of dirt is awfully close to the road, and I'm worried on a really bad snow day, that snow's not gonna be off the road enough. I just wondered if anyone's assessed that.
Below
If
the
that makes any
roundabout?
sense.
It's the dirt
Just
out
below it,
No,
next
that's-
to the pile of dirt.
And that's the county who plows that, right? Because the county owns up through the roundabout. So I don't know if the county's that or not, because that's kind of their area.
It's us that issued the permit for the dirt storage. So I feel like it will end up back on us if we don't address it.
Yeah, we can take a look at it.
The dirt storage is on private property, and if it is in the road right of way, it's in county right of way.
So the dirt is in private property, but what is the easement? So is it in that easement? It's just so close that my brain says it's a little too close for the drainage of the snow. But I'm just worried.
Yeah.
So, I've got a sign on that hill of dirt, and so I have to go down there every 3 days or so and fix it.
Because the wind knocks them over.
It's about a 4-foot drop down and then back up. But if we have a snow like 3 years ago, we'll probably want to take a look at it for sure. But I can have that conversation with Larry as well. But Ted and I will discuss that. Thank you, Diana. Carrie?
Well, and I was also thinking that last year there was some flooding because of some diversion of the water at that property that went down into Salem along the road and then into their catch basin there at the
That was
that next
actually a breach.
intersection.
That was
So yeah, the
intentional.
breach. So it was a breach, but again, just to Diana's point, maybe we just need to be aware because Salem has had some issues with water diverting from Woodland Hills property into their property. And so, we might want to just make sure why there is no snow that the drainage is actually staying in Woodland Hills.
Yeah, and that property is currently under SWIP supervision. And so they're monitoring that monthly. So, and they have to report on it, I think, weekly, the status of that area. So, thank you though. Okay, if that is it, we'll close the public comment. Michael, did you have anything? Okay, then we'll close the public comment and I will take, comments on the consent agenda.
Motion.
The motion, thank you.
I'm
We'll
like,
take
what
a
are you
motion on
looking
the
for?
consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Carrie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Let's move on to number 16, resolution 2025-21, approval of the July 2025 fund disbursements and check approvals.
So I'll make a motion, but I want to make a comment.
Okay.
Probably should have been done before, but we had the presentation. So this is really what got me interested in coming to city council. I do business finance all the time, and the city runs differently. I spent about 2 years coming to city council meetings. You probably all remember me sitting in the back before I moved up to the front. And there's a lot to understand on how city finances work. It's not as simple as it seems, and there's a lot of rhetoric going around about our finances. And I know that Chris does a good job putting this together. I question Chris regularly when I am confused. And I still get confused even after all these years that I've been working on it. So I do want to make a comment that this is not business finance. This is municipal finance. And so I just wanted to make that comment with the motion to approve. And I'd like to combine both if we can. Ben, is that okay?
16 and 17.
16 and 17?
Is that okay? You have here that I'm doing a roll call, so that probably jumps to the next one.
Yeah, you don't need to do a roll
Wonderful.
call,
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so I'll move that we approve 16 and 17, and go from there.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Number 18, ordinance 2025-34, adopting a change in municipal code 8-5-1, the water requirements and policies. Do I have
So
a motion?
moved. Yep, so
Carrie?
moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Ryan seconds that. Councilmember Lunt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard's a yes. Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Councilmember Malkovich.
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison.
Yes.
Wonderful. That passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Do we have any reason to go into closed session? I have not heard of any. Okay, then we will not, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
It's my favorite motion.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.